I can't thank you enough, Wendy. I really, I love doing these things. And specifically, the thing I love about it is because we get to help people. And the whole topic, communicating up, before I get into the slides, I just want to plant a seed in your head. My name is Tim Cook, Apple CEO. My name is Sunil Prashara. Oh, wow, PMI's CEO. Yeah, I want you to think about those moments. You're walking down the hall and somebody points out somebody to you, and the other person looks at you and goes, oh, hi, I don't believe we've met. My name is Tim Cook. Oh my gosh, it's the CEO of Apple, and he's talking to you. Yeah, how do you respond? What's the right answer? How do you leave a lasting positive impression? That's where we're going today. That's what we're going to be talking about today. How do you actually leave that impression that makes them say, wow, I love that person. I really want them to work with us. How do you leave that kind of an impression when you're communicating up? And as you'll find out by the time, I'll go ahead and spoiler alert, by the time we get down to the end of this, it's not just about communicating up. It's about communicating, period. About communicating, period. Now, I am going to ask you to participate, if I might, and specifically either using the chat or the QA interface in WebEx. I'd like you to actually go ahead and share with me a couple of things, and specifically, I'm looking for your bad behaviors, because if you have bad communications behaviors, those are the first thing you need to get rid of when you're communicating up. You really do. You need to get rid of the bad behaviors. And the good news for you is I used to have the honor of working with a woman. Her name was Lillian Brown. And Lillian worked at Georgetown University in D.C. And at the time, she was also the green room coach for CBS News in D.C. And her job was to make people on the street, so to speak, look, well, better. To make them look intelligent. To make them look like they were just really sharp on CBS News. So Lillian would do this, and she'd only get a minute or two to coach them out of bad behaviors. She'd ask them the question they were about to be asked. They'd provide the answer they were about to give. And then she'd give them a couple of pointers and hand them off. And so I would like to help you get past some of your bad behaviors. And the beauty of this is, well, you're online, so it's reasonably safe. Get to hide behind the mask that is online. But what I'd like you to do is in the chat or in the Q&A interface, type in one bad behavior you would just love to get rid of when it comes to your communications events. What's one thing that you would love to just unload? You type that into either the chat or the QA interface. That would be a beautiful and a wonderful thing. Oh, perfect. Andrea, you gave me a softball to open things up. That's great. Andrea started with and here's the nice part, pausing while thinking. And that's what a lot of us do when we're pausing while thinking. We will say, some of you have even played that game in meetings. You'll notice somebody is ing a lot, and they'll get to about their 8th and you're like, okay, I'm going to start counting. And then at the end of the meeting, you turn to somebody else and say, I got about 91. What'd you come up with? But there's a way to get past the thing. And here's the kicker. I won't tell you to stop it. No, I want you to keep going ahead and doing the thing. But here's how I want you to do it. I want you to replace the word or with this. That's right. I simply want you to replace the word or with just that moment of silence. That moment of silence makes you sound smarter, not dumber. Tends to make us sound, well, a little less than the sharpest knife in the drawer. But silence makes us sound smart. So, for example, if I was in a meeting and I'd gone that far, you'd already be freaking out. But if I was in a meeting and I had gone that far, I would have noticed what happens when you replace it with silence. two things happen. One, you sound like either Barack Obama or Captain Kirk. And that's okay because they both had reasonable success in their lives. And a big part of this is to actually ensure that you have some sense as to what you're replacing with. If you replace it with silence, you sound smart. If you replace it with another sound, you sound like you did before. So just learn to replace the word and it is a word. Replace the word it shows up in Scrabble. Replace the word silence. And you'll get a lot more mileage out of this. Now, I've seen a whole raft of these float by me, so let me go back. Pausing while thinking, the thing. Thinking too fast before responding. Thinking too fast before responding. In other words, somebody will say something and be like, "Ooh, me. Welcome to the second grade." Yeah, we're all back to that because we want to be first out of the box with a thought. Instead, let me suggest to you, those of you who tend to overreact and think way too fast, what I would suggest is instead, try being last. Wait for the whole panoply of ideas to unfold. And if somebody else comes up with your ideas, just give them a round of applause. Make sure that they know that you really appreciated what they said. Let them know that that was a brilliant idea. Why? Because, well, you thought of it. But that's a key component of this. If you are the last person to speak, there are theories in psychology called primacy and recency. Primacy is the first thought out of the box gets remembered. Recency is the last thought out of the box gets remembered more. Oh, wow. So if you can just keep your mouth shut and not say anything until all the responses have come in from the other players in that particular event, you can actually get a lot further and get a lot more mileage out of your communication. And it's hard, I admit, because I'm a fast talker. I'm an engager. I want to be a party to the discussion. I want to be seen as a player in the discussion. And yet, those things don't come across when you jump in too fast. Instead, point out somebody else in the room, and I don't care who it is, but just look at somebody else who's in on the conversation and kind of peg them. Say, okay, as soon as she speaks, I have license to speak, but not before that. It's a good way to slow your jump into the fray. And if she never jumps into the fray, you saved the best till last. Oh, that would be you. Wow, how nice to be you. See what else we had come up here. Pausing while thinking. Again, that's the thing. I can get to stern sounding when I get frustrated or confused. Oh, that's actually a pretty common thing because particularly in a business setting, we somehow feel alienated or feel kind of alien when we smile. And this is one of the hardest things to do when you're communicating up, and particularly when you're freaked out because you're talking to Tim Cook. And you're sitting there and you're trying to smile, but you should smile because it takes a lot of the pain away. It really does. It does. It takes the pain away from them thinking about your communications. Instead, you know what they're thinking about? She seems to be having a good day. He looks like he's having fun. They're thinking about the upside of your message rather than the downside. If you tend to get real stern sounding and confused. Just a note about that. It doesn't sell the message. Really doesn't. Gravitas doesn't always sell the message. In fact, a lot of times the message can get sold so much better if you smile, because what comes across in your voice, it actually comes across in your voice, is enthusiasm for the idea. It's like you actually believe this stuff. And that's joyous. That's a wonderful place to be, because if you actually believe this stuff, we're making headway. And they're getting to believe that you believe it, so they may actually believe it too. And that works in pretty much everybody's favor.